Today we're going to be talking about locks and steamers. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Atreyu Locs channel. Hi, I'm Atreyu, a semi-free farmer who is dedicated to bringing you guys the best tips to grow a healthy set of locks. If this is your first time, make yourself comfortable. I am glad to have you. So before we get started talking about steamers and how they fit in with having a set of locks, if at all, let me just say I need to vent for a second. Every time I sharpen my cutlery, because there is nothing worse, actually there are things worse, but I hate when I'm trying to cut vegetables and the cutlery is dull, right? I hate that. So every time I sharpen it, I end up cutting myself. Never fails, every single time. So I end up waiting to sharpen it, suffering through trying to cut my vegetables with dull cutlery. And then as soon as I sharpen it, even though it's on my mind to not cut myself, I cut myself. Sorry, I just needed to vent. I don't know why. I do know how to use a knife, but crazy. Anyway, moving on. Woosah. I got this question from Cecile Turner, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago. My apologies, Cecile. I like to try to keep my word when I say I'm going to do something, so I still wanted to answer your question. I told you I would address it in a video. But basically she was asking about steamers, so let's get to that. She writes, Mr. Atreyu. Oh, that's so cute. I love that. Would you please tell me about steam treatments for locks? How often should it be done? Wouldn't that contradict using a hairdryer? To dry the hair after washing? Thanks. Peace and blessings. I'm sure you have a blog about this already. So, out of all the numerous videos that I have made, I have not made one on steamers because I don't use them. I actually, fun fact, I used to have a steamer when I had loose natural hair, when I was growing my hair out long. For those of you who don't know, who are newer to the channel, the reason that I ever got long hair, because I always preferred short hair. I never really liked having long hair, so I always kept it really short, was because I wanted my friend to grow out her hair. She always had super long hair and then she cut it, and I'm a guy and I like long hair a lot of the times. So I'm like, can you please grow your hair back out? And she was like, hey, if you are enjoying this video, don't forget to smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you are notified every single time I upload. How about that? Okay, I'll grow my hair out, but if I grow my hair out, you gotta grow your hair out so that you also know what it's like to, deal with having long hair. So I accepted the challenge because I really wanted her to grow her hair back out long, and I grew my hair out, and I really got deep into it, in terms of how to take care of it. And that entailed me buying a steamer. So I actually used to have a steamer, one of the kinds that you see kind of at hair salons, or you sit under the globe or whatever. And I used it maybe 2 or 3 times and then I got locks. But I have not used a steamer since I've had locks, and that's not to say that there is no place in a lock journey for steamers. So Cecile, let me talk about this. So I understand why you might be confused and how it may seem like a contradiction, or why it is counterintuitive. Why would you need a steamer when you're also going to be using a hairdryer? Well, you wouldn't use a steamer at the same time as you would use a hairdryer, right? You would use a hairdryer when you're trying to make sure that your hair is being dried thoroughly so that you don't develop mildew and fungus, mold, right? So that's when you would use a hairdryer, and if possible you would want to try to towel dry first, air dry, and then if it's getting around the time where you need to go to bed, then use a blow dryer, right? That's kind of how I see using a hairdryer. A steamer, however, is used to add moisture to the locks, and so obviously you wouldn't be using them together, right? You would be using them at different times. So you would use a hairdryer when you're trying to get your hair dry, But when your hair is already dry, say it's been like 3 weeks since you last washed your hair or whatever, and your locks are feeling crunchy, and you want to add some moisture, actual moisture, then you could use a steamer to steam your locks and add that moisture. One of the benefits of using a steamer is that you don't have to immerse your locks in water, right? Or your body. You don't have to like wet your whole body just to get your locks wet, to give them that moisture. Another benefit of a steamer is that usually, at least the kind that I had, and they do have steamers that you can hold, like handheld steamers, which are very convenient. I didn't have one of those, but that you can just kind of mist or steam your hair and scalp with. You got to be careful because they can get hot. But speaking of hot, that's the point. It mists or steams your hair with warmer temperatures. And warmer temperatures open up the cuticles, and so the moisture is able to penetrate deeper into the hair, okay? Of course, moisture is the water, right? But a lot of people use sealants in the form of various oils to hold that moisture in longer than it would stay if you didn't use a sealant. So after you use a steamer, you would want to moisturize your locks with a light oil that will seal in that moisture so that they will stay moisturized longer. Okay. Now, in terms of how many times, you guys, whenever you ask me that question, I'm always gonna default back to there is no set one size fits all, right? There's so many factors that play into anyone's routine. You have their hair, the porosity of their hair, the texture of their hair, the habits that they have with respect to their hair. Do they keep their hair covered? Do they let their hair stay down the majority of the time? Do they wear head coverings at night? Do they use satin or silk pillowcases or cloths when they're out? There's so many factors. What is the temperature of the air? Like the climate, the air, the weather. What is the temperature like? Is it humid? Do they live in arid conditions? All these things factor into what your routine should be and how often you should do whatever you're doing to your locks. So never in any video will I be able to specifically answer, hey, you should do this 2 times a week, or hey, you should do that 5 times a month or whatever, or twice a year. Like, never. I don't care if it's retwisting, I don't care if it's moisturizing. In this case, it doesn't matter that it's steaming. I don't know. You have to figure that out for yourself, okay? You have to take ownership of your own journeys, just the way I have taken ownership of my own journey, and I know my locks and I know what they need and I know when they need what they need. You know what I'm saying? You have to do that work for yourself because I don't know each of your situations, okay? That being said, I can make more general statements like, okay, if it's winter versus the summer, you might want to moisturize more frequently in the winter than the summer because more than likely the air is drier in the winter where you are, okay? Things like that. In terms of how often to retwist, I don't know, some people have hair that grows away from your locks, like me, and after 2 weeks, those hairs could be going every which way but in the direction of the lock that they should be going in. Versus someone who has hair that grows into their locks, they can go months and still see their parts as if though they just had a retwist. The only difference is that they have like more new growth, So you have to pay attention to things. You have to pay attention to your hair and to your locks. And that will always tell you what you should be doing with respect to them. This was a good question though, because I can see how, if you're thinking about preventing mold and mildew, wondering what place does a steamer have really in a lock journey. But it can be beneficial, right? The good thing about a steamer, as I said, is that because it's shooting hot or warmer water into your hair, it's gonna open up the layers of your hair so that the moisture can penetrate more deeply. And you also don't have to saturate them in water. It's just, a very nice way to moisturize your locks. Of course, you can mist them, right? You can get your spray bottle and spray them, but a lot of people don't put hot water in the water bottles. So even though they're spraying their locks, it's not penetrating as deeply because that's colder, or at the very least tepid, lukewarm water, right? So it's not opening up the cuticles of the hair strands. In fact, if it's cold, it's sealing them, which is why a lot of times you will hear people say, you know, rinse with cooler or cold water so you can seal in the moisture, things like that. All right, well, I guess I have answered your question to the best of my ability. If any of you guys have any experience using steamers, whether it's the globe kind that I used to have or the handheld, feel free to comment down below. I'm curious to hear your experiences with using a steamer on your locks. I will leave a link to the handheld steamer that I'll probably get at some point. I just haven't really thought about steaming my locks because I don't really have a problem with moisture, but it would be something nice to add to my routine, especially during the winter time. And by the way, I need to let you guys know I'm going back to the blue. While this arrangement is cool and everything, I really miss the blue, and I didn't realize how much the blue really was me until, you know, I've made these past 2 or 3 videos without it. I mean, this is okay, but the blue, that's like Atreyu. Did I misspeak? No, that wasn't intentional. The blue is Atreyu or Atreyu, whatever you want to call me. The blue is like, that's like me, you know? So expect the blue to be back in the next video. If you choose to love, do so unconditionally, because loving with conditions conditions the heart to not really love at all. This is Atreyu Locs, and I will see you next time. Peace.